a great architect, scholar, Thomas Jefferson. And instead I got, exactly the opposite. Debunking his history, his reputation, putting him down, demoralizing everybody on my tour. It was just sad, sadly predictable too. These days, I just thought that maybe Monticello would be protected from this disease of wokeism. But
That was Fox News guest Jeffrey Tucker crying about woke history. Ah, great. So now he was talking with Brian Kilmeade about his 4th of July tour of Monticello. And apparently the tour guys they were dampening his fun time. They're getting in the way of fun time with history. I know, facts, right? He said the tour was depressing and demoralizing and truly upsetting. I'm very, very upset. And not about the actual, slavery stuff. I don't really care about that, right? No, I just don't like being reminded of it. I don't like being told about it. That's the depressing part. How dare you tell me about these terrible things that were done to people, black people in this country, by this man. I just came here to posthumously fillet him. That's all I did. That's all I wanted to do, is to hear all the positive stuff. Really? Okay. So now Kilmeade then adds that on the main tour that all you hear about is slavery, and you don't even hear about Jefferson at all. The guides do not talk about this incredible man. What? Now, I'm pretty sure that is absolutely not the case. And so here's the thing. The historical facts about Jefferson are very important. Okay, his presidency, his contributions to the historical record. And yes, slavery is a part of that. It's a big part of that. Again, he owned a plantation. He kept 600 slaves. And yes, he raped them. One of them when she was 14 years old. She was a child. A child. And I say, again, rape, because guess what? Slaves couldn't refuse sexual advances. He then took her to France, repeatedly raped her. She ended up having the first of their 6 children at 16. She then managed to negotiate an emancipation to those children in return for her returning to Monticello as a slave. Now, at that point, she was in France. And under their laws, they didn't have slavery. So she was considered a free woman. She could have left immediately. She could have left at any time. No one would have been able to stop her. However, she made that deal. She negotiated, for her to stay and return to be a slave if her children were emancipated. Now, again, she went back to Monticello, ended up being allowed to leave with her one surviving daughter after Jefferson died. And again, her Jefferson's wife, Abigail, or I'm sorry, what was it, Martha, didn't even allow her, didn't even technically free her, just said, you can go. You can go. Now, that's the history. Okay, that's history. I think that history is fascinating. I think it's really interesting. I think it's, especially interesting to hear about these strong African women, African American women, and what they endured to actually try to create a better future, a life for their children. I think that's really interesting. But these chuds, they'll look at this and they say, I don't want to hear about that. You know why? Because that sounds woke. Talking about the slaves. I don't care about the slaves. And by the way, this is not because they feel guilty about slaves. Okay? No, and by the way, they always assume that's what liberals feel when we try to teach people about history. Oh, you're only teaching that because you feel guilty about it. No, I didn't have anything to do with that. In fact, I actively try to dismantle, the history of slavery, right? Or the effects of slavery and, white nationalism, white supremacy, etc. Not because I feel guilty about it, but because it's actually the right thing to do. Yeah, I know, it's so weird. And when you think about their worldview, that they believe that progressives and that liberals, the left, it only does these things out of some sort of weird self-interest, like, oh, it's because you feel guilty. No, bitch, it's the right thing to do. Hey, I actually believe in America. I actually believe in freedom. Don't you? No, they only actually believe in doing something because it affects them. And that's it. Oh, well, obviously you're only going to do something if you have your own self-interest. And so if you feel guilty about slavery, then that means you're actually going to do something like support reparations. No, we support things like that because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. God damn. But in reality, again, these right-wingers, these chuds, all they want to do is celebrate this one person without actually having to think. And it's amazing. And also, they want to not have to acknowledge that slavery is bad. Because again, they hate having to think about it. Why do you keep reminding me about slavery? Why do you keep reminding me that it's bad? I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about facts. And by the way, I don't even want to admit that slavery is bad. I go back to that CNN interview with W. Kamau Bell. Where it's like, oh, we should, of course we should teach history, but, not about the bad parts. Only the good parts. Only the stuff that makes us look good. Oh, well, that's it. Slavery, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to taught. Wokeism. Woke. Shut up. We all know who you are. We all know you're racist. Just be open about it. Just own it already.